I often like to let a game sit with me for a moment before I type up any thoughts. In fact, I don't often verbalise how I feel about it straight away to people I know either. I just take a moment, reflect on it, and then continue on. This line I'm reading is one I've typed approximately 3 seconds after hitting the credits for Goodnight Universe because I feel a need to get down how I feel right now. I feel emotionally prodded. I feel pulled at and warped a little. I feel a twinge of sadness deep in my chest, partially for the game I've just played, and a much bigger part of me is distraught with the idea that it will take some time to feel this way after finishing a game again. Goodnight Universe is a wholly unique game and one I fell absolutely in love with. I'm going to try and keep this video short, not because I don't have a lot to say, I do, but because one of my favourite gaming experiences all year was turning on Goodnight Universe, putting headphones around my head, setting up my webcam and hitting start. If you give me a few minutes, I'll tell you exactly why. If you've played 2021's Before Your Eyes, there's a good chance you are vaguely aware of Goodnight Universe as it's from some of the leads behind that team. If you haven't, you are missing out on an excellent game, and unfortunately that means you've got 2 recommendations from me in this one video. Before Your Eyes takes control of your webcam as you make choices throughout a life, and you blink in order to send the timeline forward. This leaves you hopelessly fighting against your own body, trying to get your eyes open just a moment longer to fully take everything in. It's a wonderfully expressive work that makes you feel just a little desperate by the end. And despite using a webcam, it doesn't feel the slightest bit gimmicky. It uses the unique advantages of such a weird bit of tech to tell a story that can only really be told fully in this way. Goodnight Universe is much the same mechanically. Once again, using your webcam, you take over the mind of a baby and use your mouse plus your eyes and the rest of your head to literally see the narrative along. Except there's something a little weird about you. Despite not being able to speak, you are fully capable of understanding language. And it's not just language either. You have a complex understanding of desires and emotions far beyond the 6-month-old child you found yourself in the mind of. Also, you kinda have psychic powers, which you haven't yet revealed to your parents. But while these powers make for cute storytelling and light puzzles, they aren't what gives Goodnight Universe its charm. What really does is the game's characters and absolutely killer atmosphere. See, Goodnight Universe is a headphone kind of game, setting you in the eyes of the baby, but also controlling objects with blinks and having you close your eyes and turn your head to tune into certain frequencies makes it an engrossing, engaging experience, one punctuated by the dulcet radio-like tones of our narrator's voice, who is, well, the baby. The game has gorgeous music and it absolutely knows it. There are a few needle drop moments where the sound punctuates some grander point or just works to put a full stop on a grand sentence, and I felt myself constantly in that position where you don't quite want to get out of the car because your favourite song is on the radio. I felt myself closing my eyes and refusing to move because I knew once I did, that sound would leave and I'd be pushed forward. Goodbye Universe has an atmosphere so sweet and warm you could wrap up in it when a particularly cold breeze sweeps by. It also has many great lines too. It waxes poetic and philosophical, but never takes a step outside of its own narrative and tone. It feels poignant and pertinent so effortlessly, and it's so blisteringly creative too, playing with the form of the game itself and your understanding of it. It likes to subvert your expectations, but isn't obsessed with doing so, and knows when to let things linger. It feels like a creative force that is creative purely because it wants to be, and it has a grasp itself on what creativity is and why we are so obsessed with it. There are choices you make through your eyes that shape how characters act and what you do, and these don't hugely change the narrative, but they do change the feel. It calls back to earlier choices well, and makes you feel rewarded for engaging, rewarded for caring. Goodnight Universe goes a lot of interesting places in the handful of hours it actually takes to finish, but I think the best trait it has when it comes to its storytelling is that it never misses the small human elements of its characters in a rather big narrative. There's something grander in scale sitting behind the curtain explaining those psychic powers and why you have a narrator in your head, but one of the things I liked most in the game is just the way characters feel, their desires and goals, their idiosyncrasies. Goodnight Universe does a good job at making you love your digital family. After finishing it, I immediately got someone else to play just so I could watch them. On one hand, I wanted to see them play so I could find out what I'd missed. In the other, I just wanted to watch someone experiencing the same joy I had. As well as blinking to change things, holding your eyes closed to shape some objects or listen to some sounds, and wiggle the mouse to move things back and forth, Goodnight Universe has you frown or smile to express something to your family or those around you. And this works really well. It isolates you from your family by taking away your ability to speak and slowly feeds them back to you as you literally learn to communicate again. And communication is at the heart of Goodnight Universe. This smile and frown feature is just one way it does that. And in a way, it makes sense why creativity is a broader theme of the work. Creativity makes art, and art is a form of communication. There are a few janky sections, of course, where the screen shakes a bit too much or items in motion don't fully connect, and I found my webcam struggled sometimes, likely because of the reflection of my glasses or lights around me. It didn't bother me at all though, and only really felt super noticeable when looking over my clips. I think that's because that's not really how we enjoy games. We don't tend to encapsulate our feelings through the lens of the digital viewfinder. Those flaws can certainly add credence to why you don't connect to something, or why the facade of a fantasy pushed in front of your eyes wasn't as beguiling as you'd hoped, but ultimately when you feel something, you just feel something. There are elements here. If you told me on paper, I'd worry they'd feel saccharine or insincere, but like Before Your Eyes prior, one of Goodnight Universe's greatest strengths is its sincerity. It's all laid so bare that it feels almost a little raw to play, and it's hard not to love it for that. Goodnight Universe is a game where you control many of the game's actions with just your face, and this primes you to sit and act a certain way. It makes you very aware of where you're watching so the webcam can pick you up, and even more aware of when you blink. And despite the fact that some of the game's objectives incentivize you to frown to achieve them, I couldn't help but smile the whole way through it. And those are my thoughts on Goodnight Universe. I really wanted to talk more, but I also acknowledge that if I use maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes of footage, it'll start spoiling little elements. And I guess I wanted to leave this video as spoiler-free as I can. Even talking about the psychic powers I wasn't too sure about doing, but it's in the Steam page, so I suppose anybody who stumbles upon this game organically will know that's what happens. I really like this one. I was reflecting on it the other day, and I think it's probably up there in my games of the year. I think part of that is that it offers something unique. I don't think I have a game of the year when I think about it, but I think I have maybe 10. And I like to think that all of those offer different things. And Goodnight Universe offers something that no game has offered me since basically Before Your Eyes. It's lovely, it's charming. I remember looking at the person I got to play it and just seeing them smiling, like this big goofy smile looking at the screen. And that's the kind of experience I think the devs are looking for there. So it definitely has done its job. I think I can understand why someone might not like it, but for me, I just really did. Anyway, if you liked this and you aren't, subscribing would really help me out. I'm at 4,500 subscribers now, and I've kind of stopped doing the call to action thing in quotations early on in videos for a little bit, because I feel very lucky to be where I am, and I'm just going to take it easy for November, December. I'm just going to put out what I want to put out. I'm not going to worry too much about figures, and maybe I'll ask people to subscribe again in January. Well, outside of here, because I'm asking you to subscribe right now. That would be much appreciated. Also, if you could like the video, tell me what you've been playing, what you like, if you think you'll pick it up, and, what have you been up to? I'm always curious to know what kind of answers people give to that question. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye.